Hey, this is Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and in this video I want to be attacking this 1956 Ford Hot Wheels casting, and let's see if we can make it cooler than what it already is. So obviously I filmed that intro before I started this project, so whether this truck is going to end up being cooler than what it already is, I don't know. I called this one a happy accident because I ended up having to change directions due to my overzealous use of a Dremel tool. So, and I don't know how much I overdid it. I think I had to go as far as I did in order to get the stance I wanted. But my skills with putty were not good enough. So you can see right here, I got everything taken apart and I cut the hood down because I wanted a big motor sticking out of the hood. And in order to do that, I had to cut the hood off. So, and I just thought it looked cool. And the next thing that I really try to focus on before I go too far in any build is the stance. So here you can see I'm kind of grinding the chassis down as much as I can to get it nice and flush. And then I'm going to start working on mounting the wheels, the width of what I wanted to use and what I needed. Really, I had to make an axle tube. So here I'm just cutting a piece of brass tubing that I'll use to insert the wheel axles into. What I normally do is just cut them in half and then I trim them down and then stick them into the actual axle tube itself. The biggest thing, and again, I'm going to be kind of harping on this a little bit, is, before I get too involved into a project, I've learned over the past that I need to do what I have to do to get the stance that I'm looking for. Some of that's modifying where the axles sit on the chassis, or in this case, the interior piece, having to trim that down so then it'll fit over the axle now that it's been raised up to drop the chassis. So, doing all these mods now just makes more sense. Trying to do it after just turns into kind of a disaster. So here you can see those rear wheels, they're where I want them. The problem is they don't roll. And I could have been happy here and I should have stopped here, but you can see right here, I'm going to take and I'm going to slowly grind away. But in the end, this is where it all fell apart. I ground and I ground and I ground and the wheels move. But if you can see, I have a big gaping hole at the top of the fender and the side of the bed. I could have left them like that, but I figured I would try to fill it in. And I tried JB Weld, I tried epoxy. The problem is it just didn't look good because in order to fit the wheel in there, it's not that I just cut a hole, I needed that space. So I had to try to bump up. And the way the fender is shaped and the side of the bed, there's just no good way to make it look good. So I ended up going a different route. So while I contemplate what I'm going to do, I figured I'd start cleaning up some of the casting lines with a file and some rough sandpaper or fine sandpaper, kind of work my way up and decide what I was going to do. And the hard part when it comes to this is, do you leave it alone? Do you just cut the bed off completely? Where do you go with that? It's hard. So while I figured, well, the original motor really was just designed to be able to have the scoop sitting up above the surface of the hood. So now that I've got it cleaned off completely with no hood, I figured I'd cut the motor off of what's there and stick my own 3D printed motor. I don't know where I got it from. I was out of this hobby for a while, so I forgot where a lot of the stuff I had came from. And this one in particular, I didn't know. So after I clean that off, I'm just going to kind of get everything lined up, figure out where I want that motor to sit so I can glue that down. And that's something that I can do now and not have to worry about waiting and trying to glue it on once I'm assembling everything. So here you can see this was my first attempt with some epoxy. I'm not going to show you the rest of the crap when it came to the JB Weld, and it just nothing really looked good. As you can see here, I'm trying to form it, And in the end, it's still going to end up being the same. So I decided that that was not acceptable, and I was going to go with a different back end. So I found this big rig in my pile of cars that I'd never do anything with. And even though the base is all plastic, I just thought, it kind of fits. So before I went too crazy, I kind of started cutting things up because I like cutting things up, and why not? And I kind of lined it up, and it looked pretty good. So I decided to go ahead and cut the bed off the actual casting. So now that I've got that off, I can really adjust where I want this to go. So I kind of marked it with tape just so I'd have a rough cut line. Knowing I was going to have to do some filing and trimming, but being careful because this is plastic. It may be easy to cut, but it's also easy to cut, which means you can go too far. So obviously I needed to get rid of what was there for the bed, but I wanted to keep the gas tanks. I just thought that looked cool. And the cutout in the big rig rear half of the chassis had like a little area there that kind of fit right over the gas tank. So now, I can't have two rear ends. Nothing wrong with having a big rear end, but this was just too much. So I cut off the original one, off the original castings chassis, and that started to take shape. And everything started coming together. It looked kind of cool. It was different. I haven't seen one done. You can see how the gas tank fits right in there, almost like it was made for it. And aside from doing something on the back of the original base chassis, I ground down where the plastic molded exhaust was on the big rig. I ground it flat, and then I'm going to drill 2 holes and use this sculpting wire as exhaust tubes. So I'm emulating what was there, but I'm just doing it with actual, something that looks like an exhaust, not some sort of molded, I don't even know what to call it. So by doing this, it kind of gave me a little bit of flexibility. And I just thought it looked cool, and it added some depth and character to the bed because it stood out a little bit. So I just stuck it in there. This stuff's so flexible and easy to work with. I kind of lined it up, cut it. I'll end up putting some ferrules on the end for exhaust tips. And then I didn't like the chrome. I thought it was too chromy, if that's such a word. So I'm going to use the spastic chrome method, which is gloss black and then some chrome over it. And I just barely misted the chrome because I wanted to have I wanted it to be more of a black chrome. I just wanted it to be shiny, but I wanted it to have that, you look under certain lights, it would be chrome. But not obscene chrome like it was. So I painted everything garnet red, including the base, and I wanted to do this on purpose. I didn't even do the side steps. I wanted everything red. I was going to go with that pearl white for the roof, and I ended up going with like a gold because I thought the white was going to be too in your face, if that makes any sense. And even though the decal I ended up putting on the roof might have looked better on the white, I thought it would have been too much. So I figured I'd go a little bit on the gold side on the roof, and then I'm also doing almost like a airplane stripe on the rear end. And then it's just a matter of detailing. Took my time. I know I sped this up so you guys wouldn't have to watch me paint forever. So just hitting all the little details, headlights, interior, seats, steering wheel, valve covers, all those types of things. I hit the gas tank. Just trying to do things to make it pop a little bit. So when it's all together, it has a nice look to it, and everything kind of goes together. So there you can see I put the American flag on the roof. Probably not my best choice, but yeah, I hate decals, and I'm just trying to force myself to do crap that I find uncomfortable to grow. And that's kind of what I did there. It came out good. Plus it kind of hid, there was a little spot there that I dropped the casting after I painted it. So it kind of hid that too. So it worked out good. There you can see all my parts and pieces and everything after my clear coat, just ready to go together. And I'm really happy that this came out this way. That's why I called it a happy accident, because I learned to improvise and overcome. So here's the end result. I like it. I think it came out cool. It's something I haven't seen. And I got to use a casting that I really didn't like, which was the big rig, and gave me something to do with it. So Hope you guys enjoyed it, or at least got some form of inspiration out of this. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.